Right now, as you're walking through the blazing lights and endless energy of Times Square, you are technically swimming, or at least you would have been 70 million years ago, when the ground beneath those famous streets was covered by a warm, shallow sea stretching across what we now call the East Coast. You probably think New York's story begins with the Dutch sailing in, or the Lenape people thriving here long before that. But here's the thing. The deepest, most mind-blowing chapter isn't about humans at all. It's about 50-foot apex predators that would make the great white from Jaws look like a tiny goldfish in a bowl. We're about to peel back the layers of concrete and steel, using real geological data and fossil evidence from the tri-state area to reveal the hidden prehistoric world right under the Big Apple. Forget today's subway rats. Get ready to meet the true monsters that once ruled these depths. This is the visual evolution of prehistoric New York, from sea monsters to skyscrapers. Before we dive any deeper into this incredible journey through time, let's be clear about what you're about to see. This video is an educational reconstruction firmly grounded in geological evidence and paleontological records from the region. Some of the breathtaking visuals are artistic interpretation created to help bring ancient environments to life in a way that's engaging and informative, while others are used under fair use specifically for educational purposes. Every creature and fossil we discuss aligns directly with what's been discovered in the tri-state area's formations, ensuring everything stays true to the science. Let's rewind the clock over 100 million years to the early Cretaceous period, when the land that would one day become New York City looked nothing like the concrete jungle we know today. Picture this. The coastline of North America sat hundreds of miles farther west than it does now, leaving the tri-state area as a sprawling network of lush coastal plains and winding river systems preserved in what's known as the Raritan Formation. These weren't barren deserts or frozen tundras. No, this was a warm, humid paradise teeming with life, where dense forests stretched across floodplains, fed by meandering rivers that carried sediments from ancient mountains far to the west. The air hung heavy with moisture, the ground soft underfoot from frequent rains, and the landscape buzzed with the first hints of a botanical revolution that would change everything. Get this, right around this time, flowering plants, or angiosperms, these early blooms weren't the vibrant roses or sunflowers we think of today, but simpler versions with delicate petals unfolding amid ferns and towering conifers, their colors drawing in primitive insects for pollination. It was like nature flipping a switch. These plants spread rapidly across the river deltas and open plains, providing richer, more reliable food sources that fueled the growth of larger herbivores. And speaking of herbivores, imagine herds of hadrosaurs, those massive duck-billed dinosaurs, lumbering through the undergrowth in areas now part of New Jersey and extending into the broader region around what would become New York. Fossils and footprints from nearby formations reveal these gentle giants grazing peacefully on the abundant vegetation, their calls echoing across the misty rivers, while smaller, agile theropods darted through the shadows, snapping up insects or smaller prey in quick, predatory bursts. Here's the thing. Standing where Midtown Manhattan rises today, you'd be surrounded by this vibrant green world, the distant ocean barely visible on the horizon, with rivers carving lazy paths toward a sea that hadn't yet claimed the land. It felt eternal, this tropical forest thriving under a greenhouse climate. Birds flitting between branches heavy with early fruits, the ground alive with the rustle of small reptiles and the occasional thunderous steps of a But this green paradise was doomed. The water was coming, and just like that, the inevitable began. A massive marine transgression that would completely reshape the world beneath our feet. Over millions of years in the late Cretaceous, global sea levels started climbing dramatically, driven by a superheated greenhouse climate with virtually no polar ice caps and expanded mid-ocean ridges pushing the continents apart. Warm waters from the expanding Atlantic crept inward, linking up with the vast western interior seaway that sliced North America clean in half from the Arctic to the Gulf of Mexico. Picture a slow-motion time-lapse, rivers swelling beyond their banks, coastal plains vanishing inch by geological inch as the ocean advanced relentlessly eastward, submerging vast stretches of what had been fertile land. Here's the mind-blowing part. Right where New York City stands today, the landscape transformed into the bed of a warm, shallow sea, bathed in tropical sunlight and teeming with sediments carried from distant eroding mountains. The water wasn't some deep, dark abyss. It was a vibrant, sunlit, shallow sea, rarely deeper than a few hundred feet in places, with crystal-clear currents swirling over what were once river deltas and forests. Imagine standing on the future site of the Empire State Building. If that iconic tower existed back then, the water would have lapped all the way up to around its 80th floor, turning Midtown into a submerged paradise where sunlight pierced through to illuminate the seafloor below. The chaos of today's honking taxis and bustling crowds replaced by an eerie, serene silence broken only by the gentle rush of waves and the distant calls of marine life moving in. Get this, as the transgression accelerated, entire ecosystems shifted overnight in geological terms. The lush floodplains and river valleys of the Raritan era drowned under advancing tides, sediments piling up to form new layers that preserved clues we dig up today. What was once solid ground became a submerged world, the coastline retreating far beyond where it is now, leaving the tri-state area fully underwater. It was nature's ultimate tech leap, from terrestrial dominance to a complete oceanic takeover, setting the stage for an explosion of marine life in waters that were warmer and richer than anything we see in the modern Atlantic. So we went from a tropical forest to a full-on water world. But who or what ruled these submerged streets? With the land fully submerged under that warm, shallow sea, the late Cretaceous turned the area we now call New York into an absolute paradise for marine life, a golden era where the waters exploded with diversity and danger in equal measure. Sunlight streamed down through the clear tropical currents, illuminating a seafloor dotted with coral-like structures and swaying seagrasses, while massive schools of fish darted in synchronized frenzy, their scales flashing like living jewels. Ammonites with their coiled shells spiraled gracefully through the water columns, filtering plankton or scavenging scraps, their tentacled arms trailing like elegant ribbons in the gentle flow. And gliding slowly above them were the giants of defense, Enormous sea turtles like archelon, some stretching over 13 feet across, their massive flippers powering them through the depths with a serene, unhurried grace that made them seem almost invincible. Armored fortresses in a world full of teeth. But don't get too comfortable with these peaceful scenes, because predators were everywhere, turning this underwater realm into a constant game of survival. Picture sleek Cretoxorina sharks, often called the Ginsu sharks for their razor-sharp slicing teeth, prowling the midwaters, their powerful bodies built like torpedoes accelerating through the blue in sudden explosive bursts to ambush schools of smaller fish. These were no small fry either. Some reached 20 feet long, patrolling the shallows over what would one day be Manhattan with a cold efficiency that kept everything in check. Then there were the polycotyledonid plesiosaurs, agile hunters with long, flexible necks, compact bodies, and flippers like wings, snapping up fast-moving prey in the lightning-quick strikes, their serpentine necks whipping through the water to snatch fish before they even knew what hit them. It was a balanced ecosystem, rich with nutrients washing in from distant rivers, where every creature played its role in a delicate yet brutal chain. Here's where it gets legendary. Brace yourself for the undisputed rulers of this submerged world, the mosasaurs. Fossils from formations like the Nave Sink in nearby New Jersey reveal that these huge marine reptiles dominated waters right where skyscrapers now rise. Mosasaurus itself was an apex predator that stretched 50 feet or more, longer than a subway car, with conical teeth strong enough to crush bone, and a powerful tail shaped like a crocodile's to rocket its sleek body forward. Picture one gliding through the shallows, its vast shadow eclipsing the seafloor below. Overlaid on a modern map, that dark silhouette would span nearly the full length of Central Park, a reminder of the monsters beneath the waves. Let's dive into a day in the life of one of these monsters, patrolling the waters above the future Brooklyn. It starts at dawn, sunlight filtering through the waves as our Mosasaurus emerges from deeper channels, its scaled hide glistening with a mix of greens and grays perfect for blending into the hazy blue. Hunger drives it forward, powerful flips of that massive tail sending ripples through the water as it scans for prey. Suddenly, a school of large fish scatters, perhaps disturbed by a rival Cretoxorina. And that's the cue. The mosasaur accelerates, body undulating like a living missile, jaws parting to reveal rows of deadly teeth. In a blur of motion, it engulfs a fleeing turtle or snaps at a plesiosaur too slow to evade, the crunch echoing faintly through the water as blood clouds the scene. Victorious, it surfaces briefly for air. Remember, these were reptiles, not fish, gulping oxygen before diving back to claim its territory. No shark dared challenge it directly. Cretoxorina might harass from the sides, but a full confrontation, that was a death sentence. This was raw power embodied, a 50-foot engine of destruction thriving in a sea that covered everything from Times Square to the Bronx. And the irony runs deep. These ultimate predators swam over bedrock that's far older, the Manhattan schist that today anchors the world's tallest buildings, a silent reminder that the foundations of our modern city predate even these sea monsters. No land dinosaurs like T-Rex ever stomped these grounds. By this era, it was all ocean, all marine mayhem. They were the kings of the world until the sky caught fire. They were the kings of the world until the sky caught fire. 66 million years ago, a mountain-sized asteroid smashed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula with the force of billions of atomic bombs, sending shockwaves rippling across the planet and igniting global firestorms that blotted out the sun under thick clouds of ash and debris. In the shallow seas over New York, massive tsunamis swept inland, tossing mosasaurs and plesiosaurs like toys in a raging storm, while acid rain poisoned the waters and a prolonged nuclear winter starved the base of the food chain. One by one, these apex predators succumbed. The mighty mosasaurus, unable to find prey in the darkened, dying oceans, weakening over months until the last ones vanished, ending the golden era in a cascade of extinction that wiped out 3/4 of all life on Earth. But the story didn't end there. As the dust settled and the climate shifted dramatically in the aftermath, sea levels began to drop worldwide, pulling back the warm, shallow seas that had covered the region for millions of years. Slowly, over geological epochs, the seafloor emerged once more as dry land, sediments compacting into new rock layers, while erosion and uplift reshaped the contours. The waters receded, revealing a battered landscape ready for terrestrial life to reclaim. Forests spreading, mammals evolving and diversifying in a world free of giant marine reptiles. Yet the most dramatic makeover was still to come, one that would carve the iconic features we recognize today. Fast forward through tens of millions of years to the Pleistocene, when Earth plunged into repeated ice ages, culminating in the Wisconsin glaciation around 100,000 to 12,000 years ago. Here's where it gets epic. The massive Laurentide ice sheet advanced southward from Canada like an unstoppable frozen bulldozer, grinding across North America and enveloping the entire New York area under a blanket of ice that reached thicknesses of over 1,000 feet in places. Get this. Right over where Wall Street hustles today, imagine a towering wall of ice rising nearly 300 meters high, a relentless blue-white mass creaking and groaning as it inched forward, scouring the ancient bedrock clean, plucking boulders from distant sources and depositing them as erratics across the region. This glacial juggernaut pushed enormous piles of debris ahead of it, forming the terminal moraines that built Long Island as a rugged barrier of hills and kettles, while meltwater rivers carved valleys and flooded basins that would become harbors. The pressure was immense, compressing the land and exposing the resilient Manhattan schist, that billion-year-old bedrock, far older than any sea monster, polished smooth and ready to anchor the foundations of future skyscrapers. It was violent, primal reshaping, cracks echoing like thunder as ice calved, winds howling over frozen expanses where no life stirred except perhaps woolly mammoths trudging the margins. Then as the climate warmed around 12,000 years ago, the great melt began. Torrents of water rushing southward, lakes forming and bursting, eroding canyons and filling the Atlantic. Inch by inch, the ice retreated northward, unveiling a sculpted landscape of rolling hills, deep harbors, and fertile plains. The final reveal: as the last glaciers vanished, sunlight hit the freshly carved terrain, rivers like the Hudson flowing freely, setting the stage for forests, wildlife, and eventually humans to build upon this ancient canvas. From submerged monster realm to icy forge, New York emerged stronger, its very bones supporting the skyscrapers that define it today. From ancient oceans teeming with 50-foot sea monsters to colossal glaciers carving the very foundations of skyscrapers, New York has truly seen it all. Transformations so epic they make our modern city feel like the latest chapter in an endless saga of rebirth. If this wild ride through deep time has ignited that burning curiosity inside you, making you crave to peel back the layers of other iconic cities around the world and discover what prehistoric secrets lie beneath their streets too, then here's the move you need to make right now. Subscribe to this channel and smash that notification bell. Every single week, we dive headfirst into these hidden histories buried right under our feet. Lost worlds, forgotten eras, and jaw-dropping evolutions that completely reshape how you see the planet. This prehistoric plunge into the Big Apple was just the beginning of your discovery journey, the opening act of something much bigger. But get this, we've only scratched the surface here. Want to go deeper into New York's full timeline? From those ancient rocks all the way to the humans who finally built the skyline? Jump straight to the city before us next. It's waiting to show you exactly how those skyscrapers rose from the ashes of ice and stone.